Before I tell you what happened when those Apache pilots stood at attention, let me ask you something. Have you ever been completely wrong about someone? Because what I'm about to share will change how you look at people forever. And if you've ever felt invisible or judged, this story is for you. At 32,000 feet above Tennessee, Captain Brenna Caldwell was about to teach an entire airplane a lesson they'd never forget. But first, she had to endure something that would make your blood boil. Now I need you to pay close attention to what happens next, because you're going to want to remember this part later. The flight from Denver to Nashville should have been routine. Captain Brenna Caldwell tucked her worn military ID deep into her jacket pocket and settled into seat 14C. But here's what the other passengers didn't know. And this detail is crucial. Her auburn hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and her green eyes reflected exhaustion that came from more than just travel. The faded denim jacket had been her father's, a Vietnam veteran who'd taught her that heroes don't always wear their medals on the outside. Remember that jacket. It's going to be important in just a moment. Now, what happens next made me so angry when I first heard this story. But stick with me, because the ending is worth waiting for. "Excuse me, miss," came a sharp voice from the aisle. Flight attendant Valerie Kempton stood with her arms crossed, eyeing Brenna's casual attire with obvious disapproval. And this is where it gets infuriating. Standards really have dropped, haven't they? Look at those boots. Probably got them at a thrift store. Preston Hartwell chuckled. If you're feeling angry right now, good. That means you're human. But what you don't know yet is that those thrift store boots had walked through places most people couldn't imagine. Hit that like button if you've ever been judged unfairly. We're building to something incredible here.
Now, I'm going to tell you something that will make this whole story make sense, but not yet. First, you need to see how far this goes. As the plane climbed to cruising altitude, the comments continued. Through it all, Brenna stared out the window, watching clouds drift past like smoke from distant battles. But what they couldn't see was this. Her fingers unconsciously traced the small scar on her left hand, a reminder of the day her Apache had taken heavy fire over Kandahar. That scar? It's about to become very, very important. Keep watching.
And now, everything changes. What I'm about to tell you next, I need you to really focus, because this is where the story gets unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, the captain's voice crackled over the intercom. We're experiencing a minor mechanical issue and will be making an unscheduled stop at Fort Campbell. Fort Campbell. Remember that name, because what happened there next, well, let's just say those passengers got the shock of their lives. Brenna's head turned sharply toward the window. Fort Campbell, home of the 101st Airborne Division and her old squadron. Now watch this. What she sees out that window is about to blow your mind. This is the moment. This is what we've been building to. Are you ready? As the plane descended, she could see Apache helicopters lined up on the tarmac like sleeping predators. But then she noticed something unusual. Movement on the tarmac. Ground crews positioning themselves in formation. And here's why that matters. The aircraft door opened, and heavy footsteps echoed through the cabin. Colonel Wade Patterson appeared in the aisle, his uniform crisp with combat ribbons. Now remember what I told you about that jacket, about those boots, about that scar. Their gazes locked. Recognition flashed across his weathered face. Thunderhawk. Did you catch that? Thunderhawk. That's not just a name. That's a call sign. And if you know anything about military call signs, drop a thunderbolt in the comments if you know what that means. What happens next? I still get chills every time I tell this story. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Patterson announced,
You have been traveling with Captain Brenna Caldwell, one of the finest Apache pilots to ever serve this country. 3 combat tours, 57 successful missions, and the Distinguished Flying Cross for extraordinary heroism. Those thrift store boots Preston Hartwell mocked, they'd walked through Taliban territory. That discount passenger Valerie Kempton looked down on. She'd saved American lives in combat zones most people can't pronounce. Through the windows, passengers watched as 20 dozen Apache pilots stood at rigid attention on the tarmac. And that salute was for a woman who'd earned every single star on those wings. Now here's the part that really gets me. As she walked down the aisle toward the exit, her worn combat boots clicked against the floor with military precision. The faded denim jacket seemed to carry itself differently now. Sometimes the most ordinary-looking people have fought the most extraordinary battles. And if you've ever been underestimated, if you've ever been judged by your appearance, if you've ever felt invisible, this story is your reminder. Now, before you go, I want you to think about this. How many Captain Brenna Caldwells do you walk past every day? How many heroes are hiding in plain sight? If this story moved you, smash that like button. If you know a veteran, tag them in the comments. And if you want more stories about hidden heroes, well, subscribe, because I've got one about a janitor at a Navy SEAL base that will absolutely blow your mind. But that's a story for next time. Until then, remember, heroes don't always announce themselves. Sometimes they just serve, quietly and without fanfare, until the moment their country calls them home.